All right, welcome back, guys. Today we have Tracey Warren. And Tracey, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Tracey Warren, and I own a marketing consultancy company. Business coaches and consultants hire me to give them a consistent presence so that they can focus on the work they really love to do, which is usually client based or starting a revolution or something fun like that. I have a podcast and a book, and I'm a breast cancer warrior. I don't love the word survivor, so
Warrior, I like it.
I kicked cancer butt.
You did.
So yeah, I've been married to my husband for 35 years, and I live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
And apparently I am ignorant with geography because Tracey was telling me about the islands around Seattle, and I didn't even know there were islands, but it sounds just so quaint. I love it.
Oh, it is. When I meet people for the first time and they say, "Oh, I just moved to Seattle," it's usually for one of two reasons. One, they followed love, which
Mm.
that's fine. Or two, they came here on vacation and fell in love. But what they don't realize is they came in July and August when there's nothing like the Northwest in the summer.
Yeah.
And there's also nothing like the Northwest in the winter, which we call the Great Dark,
Oh,
because it's
interesting.
darker, longer than it is light,
Mm.
and it drizzles a lot. So it can be tough for people.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I live in the desert. And so to me, I'm like, oh, I might get depressed.
Yes, and a lot of people do. It's seasonal affect disorder is what they call it.
Yeah.
So it's sad, which is also a funny name for something that is depression oriented.
I experienced that. So I live in, I believe it's the Sonoran Desert, but I live on the border of California and Arizona. The Colorado River is the border, and it is the desert. The only reason it's an agriculture town, and the only reason that we grow things here is because we get water from the Colorado River. Otherwise, nothing would grow. It's the kind of place where there's not a tree unless you plant it and make sure you keep it alive. So it's very hot, very dry, very sunny. And then I went to school in Iowa State University, and I didn't understand that, like, there were days there were no sunshine. And I got really, really depressed. I also didn't understand when there was sunshine, why everybody was out tanning. Like they were all out laying on like the steps of the buildings and like pulling their shorts up so that they could get sun. And it was just a new world for me. And but I did get very depressed there. And it was that exactly. It was because I wasn't getting enough sunshine.
Yeah,
So that's so
makes
interesting.
total sense.
But yes, tell us your ADHD story.
Well, it's my ADHD story. So I think all my life I knew, or at least my adult life. I don't remember a lot of my childhood, and there's probably a good reason for that. But my whole adult life, what it looked like was not finishing things.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, not finishing things.
Mm.
Uh, Shiny object syndrome, always chasing the next squirrel instead of focusing on where I'm at. But really where it absolutely showed up is in conversations like this.
Mm.
Because I would, rabbit trail all over the place, and and it was frustrating for me, and I would imagine also frustrating for people who were around me. And I went to my doctor about 6 months ago and talked to him about it. It's a doctor I've been seeing forever. So I didn't go through the normal processes that
Mm.
can tend to be daunting for getting a diagnosis. And so I started taking Adderall.
And I just want
And
to like step in here so people understand. You can in the United States go to your general practitioner and just tell them that you suspect you have ADHD and they can just evaluate you right there. It doesn't have to be like a long, lengthy process.
excellent. I did not know that. When I've talked about how easy it's been for me, then I've heard the other side.
Mm.
But I did start taking Adderall, and wow, just the immediate difference that I felt, not only in how I'm organizing my thoughts in my day, but also staying true to task. Like I'm not squirreling. Now I can see, oh, there's a shiny thing over there. That's interesting. I'm going to write it down just in case. Actually, it's usually not writing it down. I'm usually buying some domain. Like, oh,
Mm.
that's a good idea. I'm going to buy the domain and then we'll see what happens. But it's really made a difference for me. And I'm so grateful because I know that that's not the case for everyone. And then I've been, um, and now is when I've been learning about ADHD and feeling so normal because I didn't know about all of the things that can accompany ADHD. And so I'm feeling like, oh, okay, everything
Tell
that's
me more about normal. What do you mean? What's your
well,
definition?
um, like me getting excited and interrupting. Like that's not rude. It's my brain can't stop from doing this thing or struggling with decision making where, if I'm going out to eat and I've been making decisions all day, God, don't take me to Cheesecake Factory where they have 3,000 things on the menu. Like, take me somewhere where I have like 10 things I can choose from.
Have you heard of decision fatigue?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Decision fatigue all the time. Like, I cannot make another decision or, I mean, even talking, right? So, generally, I am talking all day. Now, my husband works from home. He doesn't talk to anybody all day. And so then I get home and he wants to talk. And all I want to do is, all I want is quiet. Just, I need some rest for my brain.
I'm
And
laughing because yesterday I heard on a podcast about a silent retreat. And I was like, I've heard of it before, but I considered it. And I was like, that would be amazing. And my husband came home and I'm like, I think I'm going to go to a silent retreat. And he's like, What? And I'm like, nobody can talk to you and you can't talk to anybody. That would be amazing. And he's like, that sounds terrible.
Kristen would say, you would hate that. Because I do love talking to people. I'm the older I get, the more I appreciate quiet
Yeah.
and time to let my brain. And I feel like this all started. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in November of 2019. So I
Mm.
went through treatment during COVID. And what I learned in that process was to honor my energy, which for me meant if I don't feel like working, I'm going to not get up and try to push because that was never going to work. And when I felt good, that might mean I'm at my computer until 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are parts of that I'm still trying to incorporate because I know you can't force creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. Honoring your energy. Like I am always working with clients about their energy levels because a lot of us with ADHD, it's just very inconsistent, our energy levels.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, I thought of something else about energy, but uh, just knowing I can't pour from an empty cup. And when I keep trying to push and push and push, well, couple things are going to happen. One, my work is going to suffer greatly. And two, chances are pretty good something is going to happen physically where my body's like, okay, you're done now. Like I'm forcing you to rest now.
Yeah. And how do you fill your cup? Is that just rest or are there other ways?
Mm, so many ways. Well, living on the island is a cup filler.
Mm.
This is an island that's covered with trees. I live in a town that has a population of 1,100. It is just beautiful. Everywhere I go on the island, you can see the water and mountains and trees. So that
That would
is
be amazing.
definitely a cup filler. Uh, I also, what else do I craft. So I make greeting cards, which that serves two purposes, but one, it's to get me out of my business brain. And here, let's put colors together to make something fun.
Yeah.
But it can be as simple as I always have bubbles, so I blow bubbles because bubbles
Oh,
just bring
fun.
me joy. So trying to focus on little bits of things that bring me joy. So,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, as I'm looking at my desk, so I've got, wait, where is it? I've got, let's see, I got Baby Yoda, like,
I have my little golden rabbit.
see, I
I
just, these ridiculous,
I
I
do the
am,
same thing. I have
I
these
am
little things
very,
that just make me happy. My little Rubik's Cube. I don't know
oh
if people can see that.
my gosh.
It's functional.
It is, I think so. I mentioned earlier that I don't remember a lot of my childhood. And I've also read, or maybe I imagined it, but the idea that when children don't get to fully live their childhood, they embrace some of that childlike play as an adult.
Oh, that says so much about my life. Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, mhm. My husband just started playing a new video game, and there's the um the main character has an animal sidekick
Hmm.
who's super cute. And then I went online and I'm like, oh, honey, look, I can buy a plush of that animal. Do we need that? I
Of
think we might
course you
need
do.
it. Need it, air bunnies. But it's, I, fun is my number one strength and core value. And so there's always something fun
I
around.
love hearing that because sometimes I feel a little weird because I love Legos. Like if you look in I've been to Legoland so many times and I'm ready to go by myself because my kids are 14 and 17 now. And I'm like, let's go to Legoland. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because it's amazing. But my living room is like an arcade machine. It is children's books. I mean, besides I have my grown-up books too, but there's a wall of children's books because I love them. And there's a wall of like my Lego sets that I display. And like, I feel kind of like a weirdo because I like these like kids things. I like video games. I like, I was big into like World of Warcraft. It was a problem. I had to stop. And but like now like you saying that, I'm like I had to grow up pretty fast. And so this just all makes sense, but it's also fun. Like when you embrace it, it's like we just get to keep having fun like kids do. Like that's awesome.
I was at an event last night and there's a gal that was there that she makes bags and purses, and she brought out this purse and she opened it and I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And my friend who was sitting next to me, she's like, if you ever want to show something to someone and get a real reaction, show Tracey because she is very enthusiastic. I mean, I remember I went to this coffee shop once and they were like, "Oh, I'm gluten free." So I said, "Do you have anything gluten free?" Yeah, we have these gluten free sweet potato scones. And I was like, and then I started singing a song. Doesn't take much to make me happy.
Oh, I love it.
The baristas had no idea what that song was. I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you. I'm old. It's fine.
I thought I had heard all the songs, but I don't actually know that one.
Uh, whoa, whoa, you got the best of my love.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Whoa.
realize that that was a lyric in it.
So, yeah, that's the, my brain has retained every song lyric from almost every popular song from the 70s until, yeah, I'm like, what would be in my brain if all those song lyrics weren't in
I
there?
am the same way. My husband is like, "How do you know that song?" I don't know. But we worked a lot. My family, my grandpa had an apiary business, which is bees. And it was a big operation, and the family all worked. And as kids, we worked very early, and we would go and work the bees and, pull the pallets and pull the bees out and do all the work that you had to do. There's a lot of work to do around bees. And but we would extract. There was extract season. Well, we were listening to the radio every single day. And pretty much everything we did when we were working, we were listening to the radio, whether we were like building frames or whatever, or painting or whatever. So it would play all the songs. We had a little radio station here in town, and it would just play everything. And then on Fridays, it would play the oldies. And so I knew all the songs. There might be more contemporary things where I don't know. I don't really know them, but I know a lot of songs.
While that the oldies, hmm like they're not that old.
Well, now they're not.
I
I looked
yes.
at the oldies the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, these are like songs from the 90s. That's dumb.
Well, another thing is in the old days, we would record the music
Hmm.
and then play it back so we could write down the lyrics,
Oh, see,
right?
I didn't
Like,
write down the lyrics, but we would
oh,
definitely wait on the radio to record the song.
and we get so mad if the DJ interrupted, like, stop. Now
Yeah,
you just go to YouTube and you can find any lyrics you want.
I know. It's amazing. I was actually listening to Amazon Music this morning and just jamming out too. I'm big into Teddy Swims, I think is his name. I love his music. And so I was listening to his album this morning and it was just made me so happy. But I wanted to talk about, you mentioned a book that you read that really resonated with you and your ADHD. And I think it was ADHD is Awesome. Can you talk about that?
PhD is awesome. It's the Holderness couple. So Penn and his wife, they got famous doing parody videos on YouTube and they started during COVID.
Oh, I think I know who they are. Is she blonde and he's kind of like gray
He's very
and
tall and
they're
thin.
hilarious?
They're
Yeah.
hilarious. And so they wrote this book together. I listened to the audiobook which was also really great because they were both in it. The kids played a little part in the book too, and then like their manager or something. So they all got to share because Penn is the one who has ADHD. And so they all got to share about his
Oh, I knew he would be the one.
mannerisms.
I knew he would be the one that had ADHD. So
And
obvious.
it's so one of the things that I've realized about myself is that having ADHD is what allows me or it helps me to shine in brainstorming content or working with multiple different businesses because that's just how my brain works anyway.
Yeah.
And when he's telling his story, he talks about how they'll go into a pitch meeting because now their business has expanded. They don't just do YouTube videos.
Mhm.
And they'll be in a pitch meeting or talking to a company. And before they even leave the meeting, he's like writing the song in his head. And like by the time they get down the elevator, he has it done. But they don't send it right away because then they'll go, wait, why are we paying so much money for this? It took you 15 minutes. And I mean, that is the curse of entrepreneurship, right? Like, no, you're not paying me for my 15 minutes. You're paying me for the years of experience that I have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. And then there was another, you mentioned a podcast, ADHD-ish.
Yes.
Tell me about that. I'm
She
super
just
curious.
she just rebranded this week,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like I just kicked somebody out of their desk. Uh, she she's been she's an ADHD coach, and she's been talking about, are we really ADHD or is it really ADHD-ish? And so she talks about decision making and calendaring, like all
Mm,
of these things that I didn't fully understand about who I am and what I do.
yeah. Okay. And you were talking about interrupting earlier. A lot of people come to me wanting to work on that. Wanting because they especially in the UK, it's so interesting. In the UK, it's a really like they feel it more that it's rude, the interrupting. And for most of my clients, what I realize is they're excited or they have a thought that they don't want to lose. And so they're just going to like say it now. Was that your experience?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, or what I call creativity popcorn, right?
Mm.
So somebody says an idea and then I'm like, and then you could add on this. And then the whole room does that. But yeah, it was always about getting really excited and wanting to interject.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to, when it comes to like my husband, I will ask, hey, I have a thought. Can I add it here? Instead of just, because the interrupting, I think to him felt like I was now hijacking the conversation.
Mm.
And that was never my intention. It was really just to add on to what he was sharing.
Yeah. And maybe for people that are listening, if that is an issue for you, like letting your significant other or spouse or friend or whatever know, like, no, I love what you're saying and I'm just excited and I want to add on. I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying. But
Oh,
what I do, the solution that we do, it's funny. I had a solution when I was a teacher. Like the kids would come and they'd want to interrupt, and I'd say, if you have something to say and I'm talking to someone else, you just put your hand right here. And I just like they'd have them put their hand on the desk right next to me, and I will get to you in just a moment. And for most kids, that really worked.
well, and I think that also, there's some nervous system regulating in that too, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to calm down and just touch her arm. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it really helped. And then for adults, what I do is just have them create a pause or write something down. Those are two like solutions that really help. Or learn to trust themselves that that information will come back. I think that's a lot of times it's a fear or an anxiety that I'm not going to recall that information and so I need to get it out right now. So there's a lot that can be done. Also, when you work on your emotional regulation and your impulse control and you calm down, it's so much easier to like not get so overexcited about it.
it's so interesting to me what I realize about myself and probably most of the planet is I don't take deep breaths enough.
Me either.
When I go to the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, let me listen to your lungs, take a deep breath. And I'm like, oh, this feels so good. What do you do more often?
I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know if it was a coach or who it was, but I was like, I don't breathe. Like I breathe, but it's always like very shallow. And I realized like I need to I had a guest on who suggested that people with ADHD don't get into their bodies enough. And I'm like, I fully agree with that because I get coached. As a coach, I believe in coaching and I get coached and I just got coached this morning. And if there's something like really emotional going on, a lot of times the coach will have me like get into my body about it. And there's different ways to do that. But when they have me like take a deep breath, I'm like, "Oh, I never do this." It's so
There's a
interesting.
place here, and I had resisted going forever. It's called Olympus Spa.
Mm.
Um, Women just call it the naked spa.
I think it's
And there's all these heated rooms and hot tubs, and you just have to
yeah.
just be. And so there's a lot of deep breathing, there's a lot of that, right? Like, okay, just so I was working with somebody, she's like, no, you're going today. I'm like, no, 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 I have too much to do. She's like, you're going today. And after I spent 4 hours there, I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice refuge. Oh, and it's like you're not supposed to talk. Sometimes we have a lot of folks in the Seattle area who are not English speaking. And so sometimes I listen and go, what language is that? Like, are you Danish? But because they're trying to whisper in a language I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting.
But
So you wrote a book.
I did.
Have we talked about that yet? I don't think we talked about
No,
that during
no.
recording. Tell us about your book.
So it's called Ignite Your Champions, Build Your Business by Creating Connection and Community.
Mm.
One of the things I believe wholeheartedly is as entrepreneurs, when when we gather people around us, it makes business so much easier. So those people are my community. And I teach other people about developing your community,
Yeah, I love
right?
that.
So it's things as simple as learning to ask for help.
Mm.
And when you are making deposits in other people's emotional bank accounts, it's really easy to ask for help when you need something.
Yeah.
And for many women, asking for help is scary. And so, like, even baby steps, like, hey, could you go comment on the thing I posted on LinkedIn today?
Yeah.
That creates a win win. So it doesn't have to be hard, but I know for a lot of people, it feels very difficult.
I think it was at church I learned this when I was a kid or something like that. And they said people love you more when you let them help you. And that always stuck with me. And
Helping, helping is supportive for both parties, the
Mm.
helper and the one receiving the help. And I think when sometimes you'll ask somebody, hey, how can I help you? And they go, I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, that does a disservice. It does a disservice to both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. So what made you write this book?
Maybe wanted to have more impact. So I know when I do done for you content creation and marketing, I I only want to work with a handful of people, but I want to help more people and show them the ease and joy that can exist in your marketing and building community, those kinds of things. And so the other thing I did was, my gosh, I have all of this writing and all of this speaking that I've done. And when I started kind of gathering all the content, I'm like, I was halfway to a book already.
That's so cool. I've
I,
always had this feeling like I have a book in me. I just don't
well,
know when it's coming out.
and a lot of people do that because they have been creating, if they've been in business for any length of time, they've been creating content.
Hmm.
They're likely oozing content. They just don't think about it that way, right? Like every conversation you have with a client is content
Yeah.
that can be used over and over again, hopefully. So,
Very interesting. And I love that you talking about creating community because as an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur twice over. And one of the businesses that I have is online only. And although I am meeting with people all day, as a business owner, it can be very lonely as an entrepreneur working in an online space. Even though you are talking to people, I am here working alone. And I love you were talking earlier about a co-working space. Did you create a co-working space and
I
or something?
did. I did. We didn't have one in our county. So, ours was the first one. And it was really rough the first few years. And then I finally reached profitability November of 2019.
Mm,
So uh, I was, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, what am I going to do? Do I need to close? And then the governor said, all businesses are closed. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't have to make that decision. But
oh
we
no.
did close it permanently
Mm,
last October. And it was really hard
yeah.
because it was just something I loved. Um, and one of my other core values is freedom. And there's absolutely no freedom in having to pay thousands of dollars in rent every month.
Mm, yeah.
And it was actually started the coworking. My husband said, oh, does that mean all the office supplies get to leave our house? Because I have a little office supply problem. In fact, one of the women who works in the office, she's like, Tracey, did you know there are transparent post-its? I'm like, I looked at her and I said, blur. And then I went online and ordered some transparent post-its because
You
I
just
don't
solved a
have any of
problem for
those.
me. I actually was just thinking about there should be transparent post-its yesterday for my planner. So I will be on Amazon after this call.
And what's great is they're not a 3M product. It's not a post-it product. And so they're really inexpensive.
Nice.
Here, now let me enable you. I'm going to
Thank you.
passing on the
I
enabling.
have a bit of an office supply issue, and it's not that I have a lot, it's that I'm very attached. And so I had a coaching call yesterday that we had been working together a long time. And so I didn't mind like sharing like the my personal craziness. But I said, do you ever just like lose your mind when you lose your favorite office supply? She's like, absolutely yes. And I'm like, I could not find my yellow highlighter. It was gone. I was running all over the house trying to find, and I don't lose things. Like I am to a point of organization that like nothing is truly lost. And then I'm like just freaking out. And finally, I realized, well, you have more in the drawer behind you. Just get out another one. It's fine. But my brain still had that tab open of like, but where is it? And then I noticed the blue one was gone too. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way they're both gone.
You have teenagers.
They don't touch my office
Okay.
supplies. They know better. But I finally found them under a book on my desk. But yeah, I can get very fixated on my office supplies. So I get it. What do
You,
you think our audience should know? It's mostly ADHD professionals and entrepreneurs. Like, what do you know that they should know?
it's okay to be you.
I love that.
I feel like that's the world. There are so many things in the world that are working to crush our spirits, to crush our enthusiasm, and make it so that it might be scary to be yourself.
Yeah.
But the world needs more of you.
Yeah. I love that.
I I have a podcast and I started doing interviews as part of it, and I'm switching off every other one. And I was interviewing a friend the other day, and she was like, but don't stop doing your solo episodes because your audience still wants to hear from you.
I know I've been doing
Like,
only
okay.
interviews for a while and I'm like, I've got to get back to my solo ones, but I'm always telling my clients, whether they're artists or musicians or business owners or whatever, I'm like, you've got to put yourself out there. The world needs you specifically. And oftentimes people think, well, there's a lot of people already doing what I'm doing, but they're not you. I know people hear that over and over again, but like people need to really hear it. There, like my YouTube channel, for example, there are so many people that like comment to me. They're like, you understand me. And I'm like, yeah, I know because we have the same brain.
The amount of power, and power is not the right word, but the amount of I can take a deep breath when someone says, like, I see you,
Mm.
I hear you. There's nothing like that.
I noticed when before we started recording, when I said my goal here is for people to be seen and see themselves in you. That kind of affected you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, because that's important to me. So years ago, I was in a networking group and I was doing social media work, but I didn't believe in myself.
Mm.
And I had a friend slash mentor who said, Tracey, I'm going to hold your cape until you learn to fly.
Oh,
And I feel like that's what I try to do for my clients is I can see brilliance in them that maybe they don't know how to recognize yet. And I want to remind them that
yeah,
they're amazing. And there isn't anybody just like you that does exactly what you do
exactly.
because we're all, I mean, yeah.
I love it. Love it. Okay.
Oh
Well, I
gosh, I feel
want,
so yummy right now.
so yeah, it's a good description. I want people to know how to get in touch with you and all the things that you have to offer. So go ahead and let people know.
Place to find out about me and what I do is my website, which is igniteyourchampions.com.
It's
I
beautiful,
spend,
by the way. I checked it
thank
out.
you. Oh, thank you. My I spend most of my social media time on LinkedIn and Facebook. And then Instagram ends up being kind of a half business, half get to know me as a human being.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that's where I hang out. I will also say so I've been doing this for 15 years. I spend less time on social media than I ever have in my life,
So do
and it
I.
feels so great.
I mean, I have been consistently posting to Instagram for business only, but I spend very little time on social media anymore. And I notice like there's anytime I would judge anyone, that didn't feel good to me. And so I would just like hide them or whatever. But there's also no comparison going on. There's no like none of that. So it's beautiful. But I do get on sometimes YouTube knows me and knows what I like to see. And so YouTube shorts are really fun. It's a lot of comedians, it's a lot of cat videos, and that's
Oh my
just
gosh.
a happy place for me.
There was this squirrel video. I don't know if you've seen it, but this squirrel like fakes his own dramatic death.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I have to send you this video because it is the most hysterical thing. Like literally, he puts the broom on his neck
Oh, I have seen that.
and then he goes like this. What? I showed
That's
my
great.
husband and he's like, he starts laughing. I go, oh, wait. And the I love seeing creativity like, well, like that one is different, but when you look at some of the things that people think of to make videos of,
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I also know that I could totally get sucked into YouTube shorts. That's why I don't use TikTok. I just know myself well enough to know I would lose my entire day.
Yeah. It can't be an everyday thing for me. It is just a once in a while thing. There was a point where it was every day, but it can really suck you in. So everybody listening, don't spend too much time on social media. You've got too much to offer. And there was somebody
Well,
that said, um, we need to create more than we consume.
mm,
And I was like, oh, I love that. And so that's actually why I started doing less consuming, um, so that I could do more creating.
I think a lot of people are like, they have bought into some philosophy that, well, I'm hanging out on Facebook all day. I am working my business.
Mm.
And sort of, but it's also if I'm on Facebook and you comment on every single thing I do, I'm like, what are you doing for work?
Interesting.
I know I'm slightly critical. I'm working. I'm always working.
I do calendar social media. Like I have a spot on my calendar. It is a 30-minute spot that says social media. And that is when I do my creation or posting or anything like that. Or I can just get on social media, and I don't do that much. I should do that more. I need to get on. It's interesting because I got coached on the fact that I hate Instagram. I don't hate it now, but I was just like, I hate Instagram. I don't want to do it. I just think I'm just going to quit Instagram. And what we finally realized was, I was like, it's just self promotion and it's just like stuff I don't want to see. And they asked me, do you ever search anything on Instagram? And I said, never. And so I
That's the
started
magic.
searching things I
Search is the
wanted to
magic.
see. And now Instagram and I are friends. So
Nice. Nice.
tangent there that we went on, but
Mm,
we better end. We're at the end of our time, but it's been such a fun conversation. I love getting to know you. I know the audience is going to feel seen and heard by you.
excellent.
And I just want to thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been absolutely delightful. I have a bunch more now to listen to because I want to hear from your other guests.
Awesome. Awesome. And you didn't say what your podcast was. What is it?
It's called Ignite Your Champions.
Oh,
They're
you might have
little
said that.
bite-sized marketing, like one topic, one action.
I
I
love
have
that.
started doing interviews though, and so talking about curiosity, connection, and community.
Hmm.
And
Excellent.
I'm about to make a little bit of a pivot and do some different kinds of interviews because I know that there are things, head trash, that
Mhm.
gets in the way of women owning their brilliance. And so I'm starting to talk to people who have expertise in imposter syndrome, shame, those kinds of things.
Ah, absolutely.
So that's
Great.
also been really fun. So
Nice. All right. Well, thank you again.
thank you.